Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nico, the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we are going to go over my top 10 quarterbacks for the rest of the 2020 fantasy football season, going from week 14 to week 17. In reality, we're mostly going to be discussing up to week 16, but all the way up to week 17 is on the schedule on the screen, so that if you guys play to week 17, you can obviously get my grasp on their matchup in that week as well. Now, before we get into these top 10 quarterbacks for the rest of the season, I'd like to ask if that you enjoy this type of a video. I may do running backs and receivers as well. If you do end up enjoying it, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. If you are new, I would very much appreciate that. And if you're not new, you've been watching for a while, you've been watching maybe just for a little bit, please make sure that you hit that like button down below. I would really appreciate it. And before we get even deeper into it, I'd like to give you guys a quick word from my friends and my sponsor over at OverlayDFS.com. OverlayDFS.com is my favorite place to play daily fantasy sports on the whole World Wide Web. Now, typically I play in the matchup shop. They also offer progressive tournaments that you guys can enter as well, but we're going to be talking about the matchup shop here. The matchup shop is very, very simple. I'll show you guys examples from last night's game from the Dallas Cowboys up against the Baltimore Ravens. Who scores more fantasy points? Amari Cooper -2 or CeeDee Lamb +2? The correct answer was Amari Cooper -2. A lot of these are really no-brainer questions. Who scores more fantasy points? Zeke -7 or Tony Pollard +7? It is so simple to win money on OverlayDFS.com. All you do is you pick one of these and you select how much you want to bet on each and every single matchup. You can pick one, you can pick all 7, you can parlay them all together. It does not matter. It's so easy to win on OverlayDFS.com. Make sure you guys check it out. You do all this research all week long to win your fantasy matchup. Why not win some extra cash on top on OverlayDFS.com? And we are back. Let's get right into it. Top 10 quarterbacks ranked for the rest of the season. We begin with number 1, numero uno, Patty Mahomes, quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. Currently, quarterback number 1 in the 2020 fantasy football season. But the order of these guys is not just going to be, oh, Pat Mahomes is number 1, so he's got to be number 1 rest of the season, right? No, that's not how it fucking works. 310.7 4-point per passing touchdown points this season, which is 25.9 points per game. 372.7 6-point per passing touchdown points, 31.1 per game. Patrick Mahomes is completely and utterly dominating the NFL for his 3rd season in a row. This guy was a absolute murderer, like his name was O.J. Simpson, of your fantasy football opponent 2 years ago. Last year played pretty well as well. Obviously ended up getting hurt, so didn't finish as highly, but was still looked at as the best quarterback in the NFL. And for fantasy football wise, that proves to be true again. The rest of his schedule is pretty easy. I wouldn't say it's the easiest schedule out of all of these guys, but it is one of the best. And when you're a guy like Patrick Mahomes, even when you do have a tough matchup, you typically can elevate your play style to play above the good defense that you're playing against to finish high in fantasy football for the week. So his remaining schedule is week 14 at the Miami Dolphins, which in my opinion is kind of a tougher matchup. But again, Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, if not the best. He will do fine. Week 15, probably his toughest matchup out of these at the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints defense did not look all that great to begin the season, but as of recently, they have been straight up locked down, so that's kind of a scary matchup. But again, Patrick Mahomes going up against New Orleans, what some people might see as the Super Bowl matchup of this year. He is going to play well. Why? Because he's Patrick fucking Mahomes. Week 16, smash matchup at Atlanta. Week 17, if they do end up playing in this game. Because again, this year is one of the weirder years because, obviously, because of the corona stuff, and also because 7 teams make the playoffs. Only 1 team ends up getting a bye. So will Patrick Mahomes and friends be playing for the bye week up against the Los Angeles Chargers? Do they need Patrick Mahomes to even play to beat the Los Angeles Chargers? I don't know. That's why I typically try to avoid Week 17 championships, because you get all the way to the championship with Patrick Mahomes, you drafted him early, you're feeling great about it, and then he bends you over the table and fucks you in the ass because, frankly, he's probably not going to be playing in Week 17, so obviously you have to understand that as well. And on Fantasy Pros, they rank this as a 3 out of 5 star strength of schedule for the playoffs on Fantasy Pros. Not too sure how they calculate that, but I figured that's a nice metric to look at, considering a lot of people really put a lot of weight in Fantasy Pros. I think they're a great website as well. At number 2, we have Aaron Rodgers, Mr. Discount Double Check of the Green Bay Packers, quarterback number 5 of the year. One of the other guys that is in the MVP conversation of the 2020 NFL season. 281.9 4-point per passing touchdown points, 23.5 per game, 353.9 6-point per passing touchdown points, 29.5 points per game. Aaron Rodgers has also been very dominant thus far this season. The reason why he's quarterback number 5 is in some games we see Aaron Jones really shine through and kind of lower his point total, and in some games they don't really smack the shit out of teams, which is kind of weird. At least early on in the season, they weren't really laying the murder game down, whereas of recently, they've been kind of getting up big leads. The 49ers game is a huge example. You thought they would just kind of lean back and not really just step on the fucking gas pedal, but they absolutely destroyed the San Francisco 49ers. They looked really good up against Philadelphia last week. Aaron Rodgers has one of the highest strength of schedule playoff rankings, which is 4 out of 5 stars on Fantasy Pros. Why? Because his matchups are nice and juicy. Aside from Week 17 at the Chicago Bears, Week 14, he's got the Detroit Lions in Detroit, Week 15 versus Carolina, Week 16 versus Tennessee, and Week 17 at Chicago. Up against Detroit, Aaron Rodgers typically plays pretty well, and when they play this game, Matthew Stafford typically elevates his status as well, so this could definitely be a closer matchup where Aaron Rodgers really puts a lot of points on the board up against Carolina. Carolina's defense has looked pretty good, but they have not faced up against an offense as high of octane as Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur's Green Bay Packers. Week 17 versus Tennessee, we just saw the Cleveland Browns look very good against them, and we have seen other teams look very good up against them as of recently. In the Chicago Bears, while they aren't the defense of the past, it does still kind of scare me. Week 17 up against Mr. Aaron Rodgers. On number 3, we have short man Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals, quarterback number 2 on the season, but Kyler Murray looked like a world fucking beater for fantasy football, but as of recently, this guy hasn't looked good at all. But even with 2 not-so-hot games in a row, Mr. Kyler Murray, Mr. 5'6", is still quarterback 2 on the year, so that just shows how good he has been thus far this season, aside from these last 2 games. I do expect him to get back in the saddle, especially due to a pretty solid remaining schedule for the rest of the season. 307.98 4-point per passing touchdown points, 25.7, and 351.98 6-point per passing touchdown points. The 6-point per passing touchdown points aren't extremely higher for a guy like Kyler Murray. Why is that? Because he scores a lot of rushing touchdowns, which boosts his 4-point per passing touchdown points up so much since he's not throwing as many touchdowns because he rushes some ins his remaining schedule. Week 14 at the New York Football Giants, who looked very stout up against the Seattle Seahawks, but I feel like they're in for a big disappointment here. Up against Arizona, Week 15 at the Philadelphia Eagles that just got a train ran on them. Week 16 versus San Francisco, which is actually a pretty solid defense, so I don't love that matchup. Week 17 at the Los Angeles Rams, that's another matchup where I feel like it could be 50-50. This could be a game that the Arizona Cardinals need to win to potentially even win the division if they win out and some things go their way. Probably not, though, but that is probably going to be a must-win game for the Arizona Cardinals. Again, I don't really put too much weight into Week 17 when I'm discovering and talking about these rankings. Why is that? Because most people don't play in Week 17 Fantasy Football Championships. I do think Kyler Murray will be able to continue to get back on the path of greatness as of recently, so I think Kyler Murray will step up here, get on his stepping stool, and be 6 foot like the rest of the other quarterbacks in the NFL. At number 4, we have Russell Wilson of the Seattle Seahawks, quarterback number 3 in 2020. Just like with Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson has stopped the cooking. It's like Gordon Ramsay called him an idiot sandwich and kicked him out of the fucking kitchen. Get out! It's so funny. If you guys watch Hell's Kitchen, when Gordon Ramsay just kicks someone out, he's like, you fucking idiot, and he just points, you, get out, and he like yells right in their face, kicks them all out. It's amazing. That's what Russell Wilson's gonna have to start doing to this fucking offense if they don't get out and actually perform. Quarterback number 3 in 2020, though, 287.56 4-point per passing touchdown points, 24 points per game, 351.56 6-point per passing touchdown points, 29.3 per game. Kyler Murray, also a guy that does get a little bit loose with his legs, but obviously not as much as Mr. Kyler Murray. His remaining schedule is very juicy, though. 3 of 5 star strength of schedule playoffs on Fantasy Pros. Week 14 versus the New York Football Jets. I understand he really disappointed up against the other New York team in the Giants last week, but there's no way he doesn't kick the ever-living shit out of the Jets. The Washington Football Team in Washington is definitely a big question because the Washington Football Team probably needs to win that game as well. Washington's defense does look stout, but if Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson started cooking, I think Week 15 versus the Washington Football Team is still going to be a good matchup for Mr. Russell Wilson. Week 16 versus the LA Rams definitely could be a very close matchup, but I expect Russ to play good. Week 17 at San Francisco. San Francisco is going to be dead. Will Russell Wilson even suit up? Who really knows? Because again, week 17 in this year is so different because there's not two teams with buys. There's all this corona stuff. Maybe you don't want to get Russell Wilson hurt. Maybe you don't want to even chance him getting fucking corona. So maybe you don't play him. I have no idea how this is going to go down. That's why if you guys play in week 17 championships, please urge your commissioner for next season to change it to week 16 because it makes everything a whole lot simpler. Next game here, we got number 5, Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, has been a disappointment this season, and there's no way around it. The Madden curse may have got to Lamar Jackson, but the fact is his end of the season schedule is way too easy to get him out of here. Lamar Jackson was in a big rut of kind of tough scheduling. Didn't look all that great last week up against the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously gets it done because it's the Dallas Cowboys, but he hasn't been the Lamar of last season. Why is that? It's probably pretty easy to find out how to stop a guy who just runs every single time. Quarterback number 11 in 2020, 223 4-point per passing touchdown points, 20.3 per game, 257.1 6-point per passing touchdown points, 23.4 per game. This soft schedule that I'm talking about, week 14 at the Cleveland Browns on Monday Night Football, because for some reason the Baltimore Ravens have played not 1, not 2, but 3 fucking times in a row up against a primetime matchup, which is very weird, to be honest with you. I guess the Baltimore Ravens they're at least a team I want to watch on primetime, I guess. I don't love it, but it's better than seeing the NFC East play on primetime all the time. Week 15 versus Jacksonville, smash. Week 16 versus New York. They did give Russell Wilson trouble, but I expect that to be a smash because the Ravens are in a bad news bear spot at this point in the season. They really have to win all of these games to try to get in the playoffs. Week 17, if Lamar Jackson does suit up, should be able to shoot up the Cincinnati Bengals. Bang, 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 with the GLAT 3 of 5-star strength of season schedule, or strength of schedule for the playoffs on fantasypros.com. So I think Lamar Jackson will be able to get it done, and he's probably going to end up finishing inside like the top 7 quarterbacks at the end of the year, when in reality, he just wasn't that guy for a majority of the season. Now to quarterback 6, Tampa Bay Tom Brady of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you guys have ended up enjoying this video thus far in the video, please make sure you hit that subscribe button down below if you're new, and if you're not new, please make sure you hit that like button down below. I would really appreciate it, and you're going to appreciate it as well, because we're going to eat those W's in your fantasy football championship. Quarterback number 9 in 2020 thus far for Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, 238.7 4-point per passing touchdown points, 19.9 points per game, 294.7 6-point per passing touchdown points, 24.6 per game. Tampa Bay Tom Brady's remaining schedule is a 4 out of 5 strength of schedule for the playoffs, so it is looking mighty fine. Like, I don't know, whatever you think is mighty fine. Week 14 versus the Minnesota Vikings. Week 15 at Atlanta. Week 16 versus at Detroit. And Week 17 versus Atlanta. So these are all simpleton matchups. The Minnesota Vikings defense is a bit scrappy, I will admit that. They're not complete and utter dog shit, but they're also not amazing. Week 15 at Atlanta. Tampa Bay Tom Brady should be able to skull fuck them against Detroit. In Detroit should be a skull fucking. And if he plays Week 17 versus Atlanta, it is going to be a certified murder, like what happened to Julius Caesar, who got stabbed 50,000 goddamn times. I love Tampa Bay Tom Brady, old man here, deep down the stretch of the season. At number 7, we have Justin Herbert, the pervert, versus the Los Angeles Chargers, or of the Los Angeles Chargers, I should say, quarterback number 8 in 2020, 239.46 4-point per passing touchdown points, 21.8 per game, 285.46 6-point per passing touchdown points, 26 points per game. Pretty impressive for quarterback 8 for a rookie who didn't even play the first game of the season. I think he played the second game, maybe missed the second game, if my mind corrects me. One of those weeks against whenever they played Kansas City, might have been week 2, might have been week 3. The fucking doctor accidentally stabbed Tyrod Taylor right in the lung to fuck over his career. So very sad for him, but very good for Mr. Justin Herbert, the pervert. Remaining schedule, very good. Week 14 versus Atlanta. Week 15 at the Las Vegas Raiders. Week 16 versus Denver. And Week 17, which is going to be a hard matchup, obviously, if they end up playing, if they end up sitting a bunch of guys, could be pretty easy at the Kansas City Chiefs. A 4 of 5-star strength of schedule playoffs on Fantasy Pros. So Justin Herbert's definitely poised here to make a run to help you win your championship after he may have absolutely kicked the shit out of you Sparta style last week and potentially knocked you out of the playoffs, because He played terrible up against New England. My biggest issue with Justin Herbert and why he is not ranked much higher in my rankings is due to the coaching. Anthony Lynn has a hole in his head. The fact that this man has made it this far in the season tells me that the GM and the owner of the Los Angeles Chargers are smoking this man's cock on a weekly basis because they just love him for some reason. It makes no sense. I think that Anthony Lynn should be fired right the fuck now, but he's not going to be, so that hurts Justin Herbert because even if they get demolished again, they literally lost and didn't score a single fucking point last week, and the guy made it back on the bus home. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Justin Herbert is a great quarterback, and I think he should be fine for fantasy football, but he would be much higher if his coach wasn't a certified dumbass. At number 8, we have Ryan Tannehill of the Tennessee Titans, quarterback number 7 on the season, 245.084 point per passing touchdown points, 20.4 points per game, 297.086 point per passing touchdown points, 24.8 per game, 4 of 5-star strength of schedule playoffs on Fantasy Pro. So again, we have a guy here, actually not again, but here we have a guy who you perceive this team to be very run heavy, right? Just a team that's going to run the rock 7 million times, but they don't. Even in these games where they're up, they're still airing the ball out. Ryan Tannehill typically does fine, even in games where they run the ball a decent amount, so I do feel pretty confident in Tanny God. Week 14 at Jacksonville, smash matchup. Week 15 versus Detroit, very good matchup as well, should be a smash, but Week 16 at Green Bay is definitely worrisome in my opinion. The Packers defense do kind of play bend, don't break football, but I expect this one to be a run-heavy affair between both teams. I know I just talked about how Tannehill should play fine in that matchup, and I don't think he's going to fuck you in the ass, but I don't think he's going to be able to elevate you to win that championship necessarily up against Green Bay versus the other guys ahead of him. Week 17, he obviously gets Houston, which is a smash matchup, but again, does Ryan Tannehill even need to suit up in that game? I don't know. That's why, again, we need to avoid Week 17 championship games. At number 9, we got Deshaun Watson of the Houston Texans, quarterback, 6 on the year, even without big boy Hopkins, 276.78 4-point per passing touchdown points, 23.1 per game, 324.78 6-point per passing touchdown points. Sorry, I can't fucking read. 27.1 points per game. His remaining schedule is not great, and that's why Deshaun Watson's kind of buried here at number 9, 2 of 5 stars on that strength of schedule from Fantasy Pros. His remaining schedule is Week 14 at Chicago. This is a prove-it game to the Chicago fans that they are going to want to die after this one because they're going to see Deshaun Watson play up against the team that should have drafted him instead of kissing titties Mitchell Trubisky. Week 15 at Indianapolis, another tough matchup, a pretty solid defense. Week 16, though, pretty easy game up against Cincinnati. In Week 17, Tennessee's defense isn't that amazing either, but overcoming Week 14 and 15 is definitely going to be worrisome for Deshaun Watson. That's why he's down here at 9. And closing in on the top 10, we have a guy that's quarterback 4 in 2020, Joshua Allen of the Buffalo Bills. Now, I love Josh Allen, and you guys know that if you guys have been on my channel for a while. Even going back to last year, Josh Allen is one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's weird coming from a Dolphins fan, I know, but I just like the way Josh Allen plays. But his remaining schedule is so shit that he has a 0 out of 5-star strength of schedule for the playoffs on Fantasy Pros. His remaining schedule, Week 14 versus Pittsburgh, sheesh, not great for Allen. Week 15 at Denver, sheesh, not really a sheesh, to be honest with you. But we did see Denver's defense look kind of scrappy in some games, so it might not be a fucking complete roll, but that's the easiest out of all of these. Week 15 at Denver, Week 16 at New England. Oh, lordy, lordy, lord. Week 17 versus Miami for the division, potentially. As a Dolphins fan, I hope it is. I don't know, man. This is looking a bit dangerous for Josh Allen. That's why I got him back here at quarterback number 10 with 287.52 4-point per passing touchdown points, 24 points per game, 339.52 6-point per passing touchdown points, 28.3 per game. So let me know down below where you guys have these guys ranked inside the top 10. Am I missing someone? Do you guys like Matt Ryan over Josh Allen? Do you think Matt Ryan should be up higher? Do you think Ben Roethlisberger should be in here? Do you think Tua Tagovailoa should be up here? Probably not, but maybe you do. So let me know down below what you guys think down below in the description. I love you, Tua, though. No disses on you. You're my favorite quarterback in the NFL. Got your jersey in the closet, and I will be wearing it on Sunday before the Dolphins kick the ever-living shit out of the Kansas City Chiefs. Just kidding. That's probably not going to happen, but I hope it does. I love the Dolphins, and I love you. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure if you're new to make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you have not already. Make sure if you're not new, you've been here for a little bit, or a long time, make sure that you hit that like button and leave a comment again who you guys have ranked inside of the top 10. I would love to read that. So have a great rest of your guys' day. I do love you all again. OverlayDFS.com.